This statewide virtual training session is the ESSA Private Nonprofit School Equitable Services PNP Affirmation Smartsheet WorkApp, Data Submission and Instructions. The legal disclaimer is this presentation is intended solely to provide general information and guidance to the Texas LEAs, ESEs, nonprofit subgrantees, and participating private schools receiving equitable services. The content in this presentation reflects the Texas Education Agency's current understanding of status and applicable federal guidance. The content of this presentation is subject to change as a result of future guidance and/or other updates provided by federal agencies with regulatory oversight of these programs. This presentation does not constitute legal advice, and entities are therefore advised to seek legal counsel regarding the information and guidance provided in this presentation before acting upon the information provided. PNP 101, the basics. The Code of Federal Regulations defines nonprofit as an agency, organization, or institution owned and operated by one or more corporations or associations whose net earnings do not benefit and cannot lawfully benefit any private shareholder or entity. Local educational agencies are required to provide services which are designed to meet and supplement educational needs for eligible private school students. Equitable services must be secular, neutral, and non-ideological for all educational services, materials, and equipment. Equitable educational services compared to public school, provided in a timely manner, and are monitored and enforced by the private nonprofit ombudsman. PNP consultation. Successful consultation begins well before the implementation of services, establishes positive and productive working relationships, makes planning effective, continues throughout implementation, and serves to ensure that the services provided meet the needs of eligible students and teachers. The subgrantee consultation responsibilities include several different items. The LEA or subgrantee must initiate private nonprofit consultation process. They must also listen to the private school and consider their views before making a determination of what programs and activities will be available. The subgrantee must share timelines and due dates for the PNP to know when items are due or, for example, professional development should be requested. The subgrantee also must continue ongoing consultation meetings with the private school. This consultation should be documented either through phone logs, emails, Zoom meeting notes, and/or in-person notes. One of the things that a subgrantee must complete to provide equitable services is to ensure it has a written private nonprofit affirmation of consultation. That affirmation form is posted on the TEA website. It is the form that must be discussed, the items on there between the LEA or subgrantee and the private school as they set up and discuss the areas of consultation and what is required and how services will be provided. This documentation must be signed and dated by both the private school official and the LEA or subgrantee that is serving as the consultation leader. If there are any disagreements on how services should be implemented, what services may be provided, or any services that are requesting something that is outside of the parameters of allowability, the district should have results of agreement and/or disagreement. If the LEA does not agree with the request that the private school is meeting, they must provide a written rationale to the private school, letting them know that it is not required and the reason why. Timely and meaningful ongoing consultation. First, it is the affirmation of consultation and the applicable ESSA program requirements that I will discuss. Equitable services amounts, district policies, procedures, and timelines. Before, during, and after consultation meetings, the subgrantee should be documenting how it provided a meeting invitation to the private schools to get more information or to participate in services. Should that be through email, through mailing, through the newspaper postings, or through flyers posted up in a small school district? There should be documentation that the subgrantee did reach out or try to reach out for any known and or unknown private schools that may have started for the year. In addition, the subgrantee must always keep meeting agendas and as well as sharing the documentation, as stated earlier, with the private school on the due dates and timelines that are expected to be met. In addition, another promising practice for the subgrantee is to keep a written document for the follow-up summary and or meeting notes and share that information with the private school to ensure that everything that was discussed is highlighted or summarized within the notes. PNP Affirmation Smartsheet WorkApp, Access Requests and PNP Data Submission. The 24-25 PNP Affirmation Data Submission timeline is shared here. The Affirmation Submission Smartsheet, it opened on July 1, 2024. From July until September of the current year, the LEA must upload signed PNP affirmation and complete the affirmation data located within the WorkApp. There is a time during which the LEA must ensure that it is keeping up to date which private schools are participating in services throughout the school year. So if there is a change to any of the specific programs and or the private schools that are receiving or have declined services, the district must make those changes in the WorkApp between July 1 and May 3rd of the following year. In addition, those changes should also be made in the PS 3099 private school schedule to ensure that the private school schedule for equitable services amounts and the affirmations line up to which services are being provided and the total of all private school equitable service amounts individually total what is on the PS 3099 per program. In addition, as a reminder, the final PNP affirmation amendments are due through the WorkApp by June 3rd of the following year. However, it is highly recommended that districts complete those amendments by May 3rd of 2025. LEAs do not submit affirmations for any private schools that are not participating with services. And so if you're meeting with private schools and they decline services or they never respond to your outreach or they start they said they're going to start services in the summer, but by the time that the fall comes, they have decided not to receive services, you would not include that affirmation in the WorkApp. LEAs with access to the WorkApp will be able to review all submitted affirmations for its district and the data through the FPC PNP Affirmation Smartsheet WorkApp. In order to get to the PNP Affirmation Smartsheet, the LEA or subgrantee must first ensure that they have access to the Smartsheet WorkApp system. And so this slide gives information and instructions for requesting the Smartsheet WorkApp system access. In order to gain access to TEA Smartsheet system and the Federal Program Compliance or FPC Private Nonprofit Affirmation Smartsheet WorkApp, the subgrantee or LEA member at the district with access to TEA system currently will need to follow the instructions in step 1 below. Individuals at the district must enter the Edgar Connect WorkApp. Select the Smartsheet email access form and follow the instructions below. Open the form and select their LEA. Check the box that says, I have permission for the superintendent to add this email. Enter the email of the individual you are wishing to add and click the blue Save button at the bottom right-hand side of the form. Have the individual you are wishing to add complete the new user certification form. Please ensure that you have received permission from the district superintendent or the ESC's executive director in order to request this access. Those with access will be able to track the status of the addition requested on the Smartsheet email access page. Typically, to add a new email, it takes 3 to 5 business days. If the individual you are wishing to add does not have access after 5 business days, please submit a help form through the Edgar Connect help form. If access is approved for the individual, the subgrantee or LEA staff follow the steps to submit data through the PNP Affirmations Smartsheet WorkApp. And here is the first page once you have access to the PNP Affirmation Smartsheet data. This is the login page. The staff will log into the Department of Grant Compliance and Administration WorkApp system, and the link is on this page, and that's how you will begin to get into the PNP Affirmations Smartsheet. Look for the goldenrod tab work tile, which is the PNP Affirmation Smartsheet WorkApp. Click on the FPC Division's PNP Affirmations WorkApp tile. If the PNP Affirmations tile is not showing, locate the menu icon that appears on the blue bar on the left-hand side of the screen and click on the icon to display all the applications in which you have access to. Once you're into the PNP Affirmation Smartsheet data form, you will click on the submission form. The submission form may be clicked here, or there may be an entity that has the direct link to the PNP Affirmation submission form, which is in this presentation and also in the instructions document. So anyone can fill that out and submit. However, you would need to have access to the WorkApp to see the internal data that is behind the Smartsheet submissions. Access and complete the PNP Affirmation Smartsheet. The LEA may locate the PNP Affirmations data form through the WorkApp or the PNP Affirmations Smartsheet data link below and enter data. First, the district will access and complete the affirmation being submitted on part of a shared service arrangement or SSA. If so, the district would click yes. If not, click no. Select CDN and LEA name from the drop-down menu and select the school year. Once you have completed that, you need to complete the remaining LEA contact information. This information is the LEA or subgrantee staff that is most familiar with the PNP documentation submitted. This would be the person that TEA would contact to answer questions or ask for additional data specifically related to the PNP programs that have participation and the Affirmations Smartsheet data. The contact would list their contact name, email address, and telephone number. Then the LEA or subgrantee may access and complete the PNP Affirmation Smartsheet and add LEA comments, which is optional. If the district has any comments they want to make about the program or the data that they submitted, they may enter a comment here. That is optional. For access and completing the PNP Affirmation Smartsheet regarding boundaries, you would type the name of the PNP school and then click yes or no if the PNP school is located inside of LEA boundaries. If yes is selected, that the private school is located within the public school boundaries, all programs will then appear for the district's response. So you would have programs Title I Part A, Title I Part C, Title II Part A, Title III Part A, Title III Part A, EL and Immigration, as well as Title IV Part A. Those programs would appear. And then you would select if the private school is participating. Answer yes, or if they're not participating as a private school, you would click that button. If they are participating with a third-party consortium or an SSA, for each of these programs that are applicable, the district would respond by clicking one of those radio buttons. If the PNP school is not eligible or elected to participate in equitable services, the LEA does not submit a PNP Affirmation Smartsheet data or any affirmation for the private school. In addition, if the district does not receive funding for the particular program area, it would not show up on this screen as well. Continuing with participation due to the LEA boundaries. After you click the name of the school and if the private school is located inside the boundaries or not, if you clicked no, that the private school is not located within boundaries, then that is when the LEA must click not participating applicant, meaning that private school is not participating because it is not within the boundaries of the LEA, so they will not be eligible to participate in the Title VIII programs, which include Title I Part C, Title II Part A, Title III Part A, English learners and immigrant students, and Title IV Part A, equitable services. If that is the case, that there are no private schools located within district boundaries, stop here. No participation means no signed affirmation should be submitted, means no data should be submitted into the Smartsheet and no further action is needed. You would stop here and close the Smartsheet. That is if you do not have any private schools participating because they are outside of the district boundaries and are not eligible to meet any of the Title VIII programs that are listed in the question. Then we're going to get to the bottom of the WorkApp, which says, please upload a PNP affirmation for the PNP school referenced above. So the private school that you have entered data into, and please enter data for one private school per Smartsheet. You do not enter multiple private schools within that one Smartsheet. Each Smartsheet for the private school must have an accompanying PNP affirmation that is signed and completed, posted within the WorkApp as well. And so you're going to take that file from your computer, that signed affirmation, and you are going to drop it into the area that says drag and drop files here, or browsing files. That's where you would send those files. And then as you can see, it shows up as a file attachment. So this is an example of what the district would see, or the subgrantee, once they get into the WorkApp. They will see the files attachments, and you can see there is one file that is attached to the one private school that is discussed. In addition, the subgrantee must certify that it has completed the submission process. The certification statement reads, I hereby certify that the information contained in this report is, to the best of my knowledge, correct, and that the Education Service Center named above has authorized me as its representative to submit this data. I further certify that reporting program activities were conducted in accordance with all applicable federal and state laws and regulations, application guidelines, and instructions, the provisions and assurances, debarment and suspension, lobbying requirements, special provisions and assurances, and the schedules of the approved application for funding. Under the certification agreement, you would respond to the question, is the ESEA staff submitting this report in agreement with the certification statement referenced above? And that would be for the ESE staff or the LEA staff that's submitting the certification, by selecting the drop-down list and selecting yes. No other response is available. Once you had clicked on that radio button stating that the subgrantee is in agreement with the certification statement, you will move on to the next section. The LEA must click on the submission status. The drop-down menu will state in process and saved and submitted. If the LEA would like to continue working on the PNP Affirmation Smartsheet later, it will select in process from the drop-down menu. If the LEA has completed all required data in PNP Affirmation Smartsheet and is ready to submit, it may click on Saved and Submit. If the Saved and Submit button is not clicked, the LEA's data will not be submitted to TEA. There will be no message or email stating the PNP's affirmation was submitted. If the LEA or subgrantee would like an email of submitted data, it must click on Send me a copy of my responses before submitting the data. The Save message box says, if the Save button is grayed out and inaccessible, A required field is missing data. A blue Save button indicates that all required fields have information. Click on the blue Save button to save the information. The blue Save button, once all information has been completed, will be clicked and you will move on to the next section. As stated before, the LEAs will not receive a confirmation email after submitting the PNP Affirmation Smartsheet data unless additional steps are taken. The LEA or subgrantee must click on Send me a copy of my responses. Then you will enter the email address and the program will automatically send an auto-generated email, which includes a copy of the submitted responses, a copy of the attached affirmation document to the email provided in the requested field. Here is what the back end of the PNP Affirmation Smartsheet WorkApp looks like. If you are one of the LEAs or ESEs or subgrantee that has access to the WorkApp, you will see the WorkApp in this format. This is the WorkApp with test data. As you can see, there is a list of the school years, the ESC region number, the CDN and LEA number. So a district would see only their own districts participating private schools. And then they will be able to see what the private school is participating in. Are they participating in Title I Part A or Title II Part A or Title IV Part A equitable services? And so this screenshot shows you what it would look like as you review it as a subgrantee. The PNP Affirmation Smartsheet WorkApp, here is the LEA view. You will see the WorkApp and the PNP Affirmations on the left. Again, you have that menu to click on the LEA 2425 PNP Affirmations, or you could also click on the PNP Affirmations submission form to enter data. Here's what it will look like in all of those different fields so you can see the different questions that are asked within the PNP Affirmation submission form. Here's another example of the Details tab within the WorkApp where it shows that there is one attachment, the PNP Affirmation of Consultation has been submitted, and there are 0 comments. If there are comments that the LEA would need to make, it would need to be someone with WorkApp access to open the Details tab and be able to enter comments for that same private school. You will keep all private school comments and affirmations in the same original school. So you should only report comments that will address the one specific school whose affirmation is attached. And here is an example of some test comments that went back and forth. So for example, the first comment says, I'm testing on 7/31/24. That is the school district stating that. The ombudsman is replying saying, the TEA PNP Affirmation Smartsheet WorkApp training has started. And so this is an example of what the subgrantee will see that has access to the WorkApp. They will see under the details pane any of the comments that are going back and forth about that one particular school. And as I said, this is test data, so we did not have it reflect any particular private school. We just wanted to show you how the system works with comments. If PNP services did not occur, Here are a few example scenarios. The private school closed before services were used. The private school decided to participate in only Title IV Part A equitable services and not the Title II Part A services after the LEA entered an affirmation that included Title II Part A. Then the LEA or subgrantee would need to revise the PNP affirmation and resubmit that affirmation with the corrected data under the same school's name. So it will show up as attachment 2. In addition, you would make comments under the comment tab of that same school to say, for example, with this scenario, with one of these scenarios, you could type, the PNP school closed before services were used. The affirmation was submitted with information known at the time. But as of, for example, 10/1, the private school just closed and did not receive any services. So you're uploading a revised affirmation, and you're also including comments about that affirmation, what has been changed. You will not be able to change the programs in which the private school was participating in. You may not delete any information from the WorkApp once it's submitted. So if there are any errors with the WorkApp, whether it be for the affirmation and or any data that is received under the data tab, you will need to make a comment to TEA what the correct information is. That will be the last information that auditors and TEA will look at for monitoring and program monitoring purposes. Once you have completed all the data, you've submitted a signed affirmation, and you're finished with inputting everything in the WorkApp, you're going to sign out and exit the system. I did want to share a sample email that is a confirmation from the auto-generated Smartsheet forms email address. And just to let you know, it could end up coming into your junk or spam mail, so you may need to check there first. So here's the sample email that is, if you requested a copy of the Smartsheet responses prior to submitting the application, you have to request that before you submit that data, or it will be too late. It could take a few minutes for the auto-generated email to appear. The message that comes from the auto-generated emails will say, "Thank you for submitting your entry. A copy is included below for your records. All data that was submitted is provided. As you can see, the CDN, LEA, school year, LEA contact information is shown. This provides the LEA with documentation that the Smartsheet submission was successful. However, as a reminder again, the LEA must ensure it clicks on the box to receive responses by email and provide an email address. Then in the LEA comments, there will be a sample of the LEA comments. If there's a new private school and you need to contact that private school, you can make comments about that. The LEA can receive emails for all the private nonprofit school data submitted to have that for auditors, or if they have WorkApp access, they may be able to go back in and view a list of all of the private school affirmations and data that's been submitted and use that for auditors. It will be time-stamped. If there are issues submitting the PNP Affirmation Smartsheet, I'm sharing just a simple rule that will correct almost every error that you may come up with in the WorkApp fields. If there are fields missing that are marked with an asterisk, The required fields will show up as you see on the screen. They must be completed to submit the Smartsheet WorkApp and attach the private school's affirmation. The LEA must complete all required Smartsheet WorkApp fields and attach the one signed PNP affirmation before clicking Save. Do not submit an entire batch of signed affirmations under one school. Each individual affirmation must be submitted individually under that private school's PNP data information. If all that is not completed, you will receive a message saying the information you entered is incomplete or invalid. So go back in, complete the steps, and then try and save your work again. Move on. Here are a few web links that will be helpful as you work with the PNP Affirmation Smartsheet WorkApp. The Federal Program Compliance PNP Affirmation Smartsheet WorkApp is accessible to all LEAs and ESEs to submit data. The Department of Grant Compliance and Administration WorkApp system is also listed. And then you may have the ESSA PNP webpage. Click on that link and you can see many resources for the Private Nonprofit Equitable Services webpage. You may also click on the link that is for the PNP Affirmation of Consultation form that is linked to our PNP webpage without going through the WorkApp. Now I have just a few tips and reminders. The LEA will only enter PNP school name and data once by the Smartsheet. Any revisions after that initial submission of PNP Affirmation Smartsheet data and affirmation are submitted only through the WorkApp and attached to that same original PNP school. The PNP Affirmation Smartsheet cannot be deleted by TEA, the district, or an ESC. If there is an error with the Smartsheet data or signed affirmation submissions for any reason, the LEA must return to the WorkApp and upload the corrected affirmation. Again, you're going to upload the corrected information to the same PNP school. You will never enter a second Smartsheet data form for the same PNP school. Revised PNP school affirmations must be submitted within the WorkApp under the same PNP school name, not through the Smartsheet data form. Subgrantees should ensure all PNP school affirmations correctly represent equitable services provided in each. If not, update Smartsheet data and attach revised affirmations through the WorkApp before the final ESSA Consolidated Grant Application final amendments are due annually on June 3rd. However, the Ombudsman highly recommends that you submit all affirmations that need amendments prior to June. Please submit them in May so that you can ensure that the PNP affirmations are updated, and it will include all of the changes that have been made or things that were changed per private school, per program throughout the school year. You will not only upload and make that change in the WorkApp, you will also need to make changes in the PS 3099 private school application schedule that is within the consolidated grant application. Here are some additional dates and documentation, submission, technical assistance, and support information. As you can see, this recording, August 7th, 2024, is a recording of the statewide PNP affirmation data and documentation submission training session. And then there were 2 TEA Ombudsman open office hours by Zoom. And then the last thing is the due date for the PNP affirmation data and documentation submission to TEA through the FPC Compliance Division's PNP Affirmations Smartsheet WorkApp system is due September 30th annually. Thank you for attending. This is Lenitra Guest, the PNP Ombudsman and Program Director for Title IV Part A. If you have further questions that you need responses to, feel free to call or email me for a timely response. In addition, you may also contact your ESEA representative that is working with PNP Equitable Services. Thank you, and you have a wonderful day.